Tonight's program is sponsored by Carlton Public Relations and Ferris, Riley and Pitt, attorneys at law.
WBRC Fox 6 Law Call.
And good evening. Welcome into Law Call. I'm Melanie Posey here with Kirby Ferris this evening, and we of course have the answers to your legal questions. Here's what's coming up on tonight's show. We're answering questions about workers' compensation. What is it? How exactly does it work? And how do you know if you are eligible for those benefits? Also, does workers' compensation cover COVID or quarantines? Great questions tonight. Give us a call with your questions. The number 855-LAW-1955. Plus, we will also talk about dangerous and defective products and what you should do if you or your loved one has been injured. But of course, first of all, personal injury attorney Kirby Ferris here to take a look at one of your emails tonight. And let's look at the question. It says here, I work in a school system where the students will be returning to class this week. If I get COVID and develop long-term health problems because of it, will the system be able to fire me? Will they also pay my medical bills? I only have so many sick days. This question, a very good one, coming from Ashley. Kirby, your thoughts on this?
Ashley, we are hearing that question and that sort of question a lot. This COVID situation that we find ourselves in is new for everybody, and it's new to the law. So some of the things you're asking, we just don't have an answer to yet. But here's what my thoughts are on it. First of all, as to your being terminated, I think the Americans with Disability Act will protect you if you get COVID. As for your medical bills, your regular health insurance should pay your medical bills. One of the big questions, and we're going to talk to our guest tonight about this one, is there a circumstance where COVID may be a workers' compensation claim? And if that were the case, then you would receive workers' compensation benefits, and also workers' compensation would pay for your medical bills. But we have a ton of unanswered questions just because we're so new to what we're experiencing. But I don't believe that you can be terminated. If you do, I think the Americans with Disability Act will protect you. If it is not a workers' compensation case, your regular health insurance should take care of your medical expenses. But I hope you don't get it at all.
And as you said, lots of questions regarding this very topic that we'll talk about tonight.
Yes.
You know, for more information, you can go to deliveringjustice.com, that address, or you can go to WBRC.com and click on the Law Call link just to find more information on that. Tell us a little bit about our guest tonight, if you will.
Oh, man. Our guest tonight is a very, very good friend of mine. We've been friends a long, long time. It would take me the rest of the show to tell you all of David's accolades. Awesome. He's been practicing 18 years. He does workers' compensation. He is one of the best workers' compensation lawyers in our state. Martindale Hubbard has him as a preeminent attorney.
Wow.
From 2013 to 2019, he's been a Birmingham super lawyer.
Wow.
He's received the President's Award from the Workers' Injury Law and Injury Advocacy Group. Speaks all around the state on workers' comp, and I am so thrilled to have David with us. David Domberg is our guest.
Excellent, excellent. Well, David, I know you can hear us there in the other room. Any opening remarks that you'd like to make tonight?
Well, I appreciate the kind words, Kirby. Thank you so much, and I'm glad to be here and look forward to speaking to some callers and talking about work comp tonight.
Wonderful. Well, speaking of callers, we already have one on the line, and understand that Steve from Jasper is here with us tonight. Steve, go right ahead with your question. You're live on the air.
Good evening.
Hey, Steve.
I am a registered nurse, and recently I have been moved to working only with COVID patients. I've been tested twice on my own since all this started, and they were both negative, and I pretty much social distance stay at home except for when I have to go to work. But I am wondering if, because of working around all of these COVID patients, I do catch it, is it going to be a workman's comp claim? So I am wondering if, because of working around all of these COVID patients, I do catch it.
Kirby, you want me to go ahead and take that?
Yeah, please, David. Okay. We're having a little problem with our delay.
Feedback, yes.
Okay, sorry about that.
They'll get that.
Really good question, Steve. If you're going to claim workers' compensation benefits or ask for workers' compensation benefits, it's your requirement, your responsibility to prove that you contracted the virus at work and from work only. and that's going to probably require a doctor's help. As you know, we're in the middle of a global pandemic, and so it's possible to contract the virus at home, at a restaurant, at a grocery store, pretty much anywhere. But in order for the work comp carrier, your employer, to pay for work comp benefits, you still have to prove that you contracted it from work or from the work environment.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, David, for that answer. And again, just hearing a little bit of feedback on our end, so I apologize if there seems to be a little bit of a delay. But we understand that we have another caller on the line, John from Pell City. John, what's your question for David tonight?
Yes, I was working and had a heart attack at work. When I left work, I was off for the heart attack. Then the COVID hit. The COVID held off the elective surgery, and then once I went in and filed for FMLA, they said my company was not big enough to have FMLA. So they carried my insurance for about 3 months, which the COVID was still here, and that I never did quit, nor did they fire me. They just dropped my insurance. Now I'm in the hospital this moment having that elective surgery. Is it legal for them to drop my insurance like that?
Well, I'm sorry to hear you're in that situation, and I hope you have a good recovery, John. I'm not sure if you pay your insurance premiums or if your employer pays your health insurance premiums. But if you're responsible for paying your premiums, even if you're not, then you'll have to continue paying those premiums if you're not working there. You may be eligible to pay for health insurance through the COBRA program, even if you're no longer employed by that employer.
David, it's unlikely that his employer will be in trouble in any way for dropping his insurance in that situation, I'm afraid. But you mentioned COBRA. If you will, tell everybody a little bit about COBRA insurance, because it can be very important to someone in that situation.
Sure. So if you have health insurance but you're no longer employed, then you might lose your your employer may no longer pay your health insurance premiums. But even if you're no longer employed, then COBRA allows you, the individual, to continue paying that health insurance premium so that you remain insured even if you're no longer employed.
And David, the rates would be the similar rates to what his company was paying. It's a much better deal than having to go out and get your own insurance, as I understand it.
That's right.
Excellent, excellent. Well, again, John and Steve, thank you for those first questions this evening. We certainly are here to take more of those, so please give us a call. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
When you or a loved one is injured in an accident and need help, there are many attorneys to choose from.
We recommend contacting your local family attorney for advice on who to choose. It doesn't cost you anymore, and you know you can trust your local family lawyer.
Whether they helped you with a criminal matter, a bankruptcy, divorce, or disability, give them a call first. We are Ferris, Riley & Pitt, and we are trying to help you get the best result for your case.
WBRC Fox 6 Law Call from the Birmingham law firm of Ferris, Riley & Pitt. Personal injury attorney Kirby Ferris, a proven advocate, known for his aggressive courtroom skills. Personal injury attorney Ken Riley, practical, professional, recognized by Birmingham Magazine as one of Birmingham's top attorneys. Plus, guest attorneys from across Alabama. Your rights, your calls, live.
And welcome back into Law Call tonight. You know, there are plenty of dangerous products out there, but even if you're injured by one, proving a liability claim can be very tough. Personal injury attorney Ken Riley tonight explains in his legal brief.
If you use any product like an ordinary consumer would and are injured, then you may have a case. Generally, you don't have to prove any wrongdoing by the manufacturer, just that the product is unsafe. But these cases can be very complex. Specifically, you must prove that the product was dangerous or defective, and would be perceived so by a reasonable person. This can come from the design, the manufacturing, or even the marketing of the product. Secondly, you have to show that the product injured you, and most importantly, that your injury was caused by the defect. The product may be unsafe and you may be injured, but proving that the product caused the injury is the tricky part. An experienced attorney can advise you about the strength of your case and how to proceed. That's your legal brief for tonight. I'm personal injury attorney Ken Riley with Ferris, Riley & Pitt in Birmingham. Back to you.
Thank you, Ken. Tonight we're discussing workman's compensation and taking your questions. Please give us a call if you have one. The number 1-855-529-1955. We understand that Lisa from Chilton County is on the line with a question tonight. Lisa, your question? Lisa, you still with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, please go ahead with your question.
My husband injured his back at his previous job. He has continued to have issues from it. They sent him to some specialist and they put something in his back, but he's still continuing to have issues. Can he go back and reopen that case even if he's not working for that company?
Hi, Lisa. That's a good question, and the answer is yes. Even if your husband does not work for that employer, if he has an open work comp claim with that employer, then he should contact the former employer or the work comp carrier, and they'll schedule an appointment for him with the authorized doctor.
David, talk to us a little bit about if you're hurt on the job, the significance of reporting that injury to your employer, and a little bit about the statute of limitations and how that works with workers' compensation
Sure
claims.
thing. So after someone gets hurt at work, the first thing they need to do is notify their employer that they have been injured on the job, and then ask to see the company doctor or the work comp doctor. The employer is responsible, the employee is responsible for telling their employer that they were injured. They have to do that within 5 days. 5 days, it's called 5 days of verbal notice. The injured worker also has 90 days to do that in writing, but it's best to go ahead and do it as quickly as possible and ask to see the company doctor. And the second part you were talking about, Kirby, the statute of limitations. And what that means is the injured worker has 2 years from the date of their accident to settle their claim or file it in a court of law to preserve their rights. And that 2-year window is also extended if the injured worker is paid temporary total disability benefits or temporary partial disability benefits. So if they get paid what's called TTD benefits, then the 2-year window is extended out based on the last payment or last compensation paid to the injured worker.
And David, would you recommend that if someone is injured on the job that they begin to document that in writing just on their own from the very beginning, just to take their own good notes?
I think that's a good idea, absolutely. It's important because the injured worker may go to dozens of medical appointments, or dozens of therapy appointments, and you might treat for a year or 2 years or 3 years, and it's hard to remember that far back. So keeping notes is a good idea.
And David, what about retaliation? Let's say I'm injured on the job and I'm concerned about my boss getting mad at me or my company firing me. How does the law deal with that?
Yeah. So in Alabama, it's illegal for the employer to fire an injured worker for making a workers' compensation claim. So it's a no-no. But it does happen. It is illegal for the employer to fire someone for making a claim, and so that is something that we advise clients about and can help them with that as well, because it might not be just a work comp claim, Kirby. It could be a retaliation claim as well.
And David, for the business owners out there that may be watching tonight, or supervisors, there can be some really stiff penalties for the company in terms of damages that a jury may award in that circumstance. Is that not correct?
That's a real good point. Yes. So a workers' compensation claim, if you go to trial, you're hearing, just the judge is going to hear that. But if you have a retaliatory discharge case, then a jury can decide the damages. And in those type cases, you're talking about compensatory damages and punitive damage as well, which is different than a workers' compensation case where the injured worker is limited in their recovery.
That is all great information just for everyone to know. Sure. You just never know what might happen. Again, our topic tonight, workers' compensation. We are here to take your calls. The number 1-855-529-1955. We'll be right back after this break.
When you or a loved one is injured in an accident and need help, there are many attorneys to choose from.
We recommend contacting your local family attorney for advice on who to choose. It doesn't cost you anymore, and you know you can trust your local family lawyer.
Whether they helped you with a criminal matter, a bankruptcy, divorce, or disability, give them a call first. We are Ferris, Riley, and Pitt, and we are trying to help you get the best result for your case.
And if you're interested in getting in touch with our guest for tonight, David Naumberg, his information is there on the screen. He's an attorney here in Birmingham. His number 205-930-6900, or you can reach him at david@naumberglaw.com. And if you have any additional questions for Kirby Ferris or Ken Riley of Ferris, Riley and Pitt, you can reach them here in Birmingham at 205-324-1212 or on the web at deliveringjustice.com. You can also follow them on the website at WBRC.com, also by going to Twitter and to Facebook. We had a caller, but we understand that we lost that caller. So, Kirby, you had a question for David as well.
Yeah, David, when you're seeing the workers' compensation doctors as an injured employee, let's say you're just dissatisfied with your doctor, you're not connecting with your doctor. Is there anything you can do about that?
Yeah, there sure is, Kirby. So in Alabama, the employer selects the initial treating physician, but as you said, if you're dissatisfied with that doctor, you do have the right to change your doctor. And it's called a panel of 4 physicians. And if you want a new doctor, you notify work comp or your employer, and they'll give you 4 doctors to choose from. You choose one, and that doctor becomes your new authorized treating doctor.
And how often can you, if you're dissatisfied with that doctor, can you go through all 4 of those, or how does that work exactly?
No, you just get one shot, just one time to change. And there also is what's called a panel of 4 surgeons. So if you choose your panel of 4 doctor, and then that doctor says you need surgery, and you can get a second opinion through what's called a panel of 4 surgeons, and work comp will put 4 surgeons on the panel, and you can go and talk to that surgeon about whether you want to proceed with surgery or change doctors.
David, tell our viewers a little bit about what you should consider in determining whether it's time to have a lawyer involved in your case or not. Is it severity of injury, length of time? What kind of things should our folks be thinking about if they're injured on the job in terms of when I should get representation?
Yeah. I think it's a good idea to contact a lawyer anytime you have a question about work comp, because it's going to be you're not going to get charged to talk to a lawyer. But when is it time to hire a lawyer? I think that if you're going to need surgery, if you've got broken bones, if you've got a serious injury, catastrophic injury, I think it's time to call a lawyer and hire a lawyer. The Alabama work comp laws are complex, they're unique to Alabama, and I do not recommend that injured workers go at it alone. They need to hire an experienced work comp lawyer to help guide them through the system, to have someone looking out for their best interests.
Well, David, what if they just can't afford to hire you for that job? I mean, they're off work. What if they can't afford to hire you?
That's a frequent question, Kirby, one I answer just about every day. And the good news is you don't have to pay a work comp lawyer out of your pocket. Clients will never pay me. I work off what's called a contingency fee contract, and what that means is I don't get paid unless I recover money from my client. And in Alabama, the attorney fee on work comp is capped at 15%.
That's a good question.
So we're a good deal.
Yes, yes. Well, let's go to Pamela. We understand that Pamela from Roebuck is on the line. Pamela, you have a question for David tonight?
Yes, I do. My question is if my employer, if I get injured on my job and from a rotator cuff injury, they give me like 6 to 12 months to recover and have physical therapy and everything. I was just curious that being placed back on the job before I really fully get, I guess the doctor releases me and say that everything's good. But anyway, back on the job, I injured myself again, and I have to have another surgery for a rotator cuff. Would you think that I would be, who would be responsible? Would that be a claim or?
Yes, if you got hurt at work, Pamela, you have a workers' compensation claim, and you're entitled to benefits, including medical treatment. You're entitled to compensation while you're off work, and you're entitled to reimbursement for mileage when you go to the doctor, the pharmacist, or the physical therapist. And at the end of your claim, when your doctor says you're about as good as you're going to get or reaching maximum medical improvement, you may be entitled to money for your impairment rating or your vocational disability if you have one. That's you mentioned rotator cuff surgeries, and 2 of them. Those are serious injuries, and I highly recommend that you speak with a work comp lawyer to discuss your rights.
And David, both of those injuries would be compensable for her, wouldn't they?
That's right.
Excellent. Understand Ted from Alabaster is on the call. Ted, quickly, what's your question tonight?
Yes. My question is, if you're injured on the job and you're referred to a doctor by workman comp, are those workman comp doctors working for the employer, or are they just general practitioners?
That's a great question, David. We only got about a minute or so.
Okay. So, Ted, as I mentioned earlier in the broadcast, the employer selects the work comp doctor, and you don't have to pay for it. That's the trade-off. They select the doctor, and work comp will pay for the doctor. So that is your doctor, and he's supposed to be looking out for you and taking care of you. So, yeah, that's just how it is. You can't go to your own doctor because your most personal health insurance providers won't pay for medical treatment that's happened on the job. But what I suggest you do, Ted, is speak with a lawyer. They can tell you a little bit more about your doctor. We as lawyers keep up with the doctors in our areas and keep track of them and know who's a little more employer-friendly or patient-friendly.
Lots of great calls tonight, and we know there would be. And David Naumberg, of course, very qualified to answer these questions tonight.
David, thank you for joining us tonight. You've been a great source of information for us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Enjoyed it.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, we certainly hope that you'll join us back here again next week as we, of course, answering again all of your legal questions. So much going on. I want to remind you that if you'd like more information about our guests tonight or also just about Kirby or Ken, please make sure you check out their websites and give them a call. Don't hesitate, especially with those worker compensation questions. Please join us back here Sunday night again after the news. Until then, we hope that you'll have a good night. Thanks for